I'm Mason, 34 years old. And last month, I found out exactly how much my family loves me. It wasn't in a card or a text or a warm conversation over dinner. It was on a crumpled piece of paper, stained with coffee grounds, sitting at the bottom of a trash can. Before I tell you about the silence that fell over a ballroom when a $30,000 credit card was declined, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I want to know who is riding shotgun with me on this one. It started on a Tuesday, just a regular Tuesday. I had taken a half-day off work from the firm. I work in forensic accounting, fancy title for finding money that people try to hide. I spend my life looking at spreadsheets, tracking assets, and dealing with tax lawyers. Pays well, but it drains the life out of you. I looked at the clock on my dashboard. 1:30 p.m. I was heading to my parents' house to drop off the final check for the catering. My brother, Carter, was getting married in 3 weeks. Carter is 26. He's the golden boy, the one with the smile that gets him out of speeding tickets. The one mom calls her Little Miracle. Me? I'm just Mason, the reliable one. The one who drives a 6-year-old sedan so Carter can drive the brand new sports car that's technically in my name. I pulled into the driveway. My parents' house is nice. Too nice for their retirement income, but that's where I come in. I supplement their lifestyle. I pay the property taxes. I handle the unexpected roof repairs. I do it because that's what you do for family, right? That's what I told myself for a decade. I let myself in with my key. The house was quiet. Mom's car was in the drive, but she wasn't in the kitchen. I could hear voices coming from the sunroom in the back. Carter and Mom, laughing. I didn't want to interrupt their moment. I walked into my dad's study to leave the check on his desk. That's how we did things. I leave the money. They spend it. Transactional, clean, efficient. I placed the envelope on the mahogany desk, a desk I bought him for his 60th birthday. My hand brushed against a half-empty coffee mug I'd left there the weekend before. It was moldy, gross. I picked it up to toss it in the small wastebasket under the desk. That's when I saw it. A ball of thick, cream-colored paper. High-quality stock. The kind of paper that costs $3 a sheet. It was crumpled up, discarded like a fast food wrapper. I don't know why I reached for it. Maybe it was the accountant in me. I hate waste. Or maybe it was a gut feeling. That little voice in the back of your head that whispers when something isn't right. I smoothed it out on the desk. It was the final draft of the wedding program and the master RSVP list for the reception. The union of Carter and Emily, it said in elegant gold script. I scanned the names. I saw our cousins from Ohio. I saw Mom's bridge club friends. I saw Dad's old golf buddies. I saw people I hadn't seen in 15 years. I looked for the immediate family section. Robert and Linda, parents of the groom. VIP sponsors. The words VIP sponsors were bolded, larger than the names themselves. I kept scanning. I looked for Mason, brother of the groom. Or best man, or even just groomsman. Nothing. I checked the guest list. Alphabetical order. Martin, Matthews, Myers, Miller. No Mason. I blinked. I rubbed my eyes, thinking maybe the fluorescent overhead light was playing tricks on me. I flipped the page over. Maybe I was listed under special acknowledgments? Nothing. My name wasn't anywhere. I had paid for Carter's tuition for 4 years. I had paid for the engagement ring on Emily's finger because Carter was a little short this month. I had just put a check for $12,000 on this very desk for the caterer. And I wasn't even on the list. My chest tightened. It felt like someone had reached inside my ribcage and squeezed my heart. It wasn't just a mistake. This was a draft sent to the printer. This was intentional. Then I heard my name. Came from the sunroom. The door was cracked open just an inch. The acoustics in this house are weird. Sound travels through the vents. Mason is going to be here any minute with the check. Mom's voice. She sounded anxious. Carter, are you sure about this? If he sees the program. He won't see the program, Mom. Carter's voice. Smooth. Arrogant. He's not sitting with the guests. I told Emily he's handling the logistics. He's going to be in the back with the vendors. I froze. The blood in my veins turned to ice. But he's your brother, Mom said. Not defending me, just stating a fact. Look at him, Mom, Carter laughed. Cruel, sharp sound. He doesn't fit the aesthetic. Emily's parents are bringing Senator Wilkins. We're trying to project a certain image here. Success. Old money. Mason shows up in his cheap suit with that scar on his chin. He looks like a bouncer. Or a driver. I touched my chin. I got that scar when I was 12, falling off a bike because I was trying to teach Carter how to ride without training wheels. He had steered right into me. I took the pavement so he wouldn't have to. So what did you tell Emily? Mom asked. I told her he's the hired help, Carter said. I told her he's a family friend who needed work. So we hired him to manage the parking and the vendors. That's why he's not in the photos. He's staff. Staff. I looked down at the check on the desk. $12,000. And the VIP sponsor title next to our names? Mom asked. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but I heard it. You know that money is Mason's. It's family money, Mom. Carter dismissed her. Mason is the wallet. We are the face. That's how it works. He likes being useful. Let him be useful from the parking lot. My hand hovered over the check. I could tear it up right now. I could storm into that sunroom and flip the table. I could scream until the neighbors called the cops. But I'm an accountant. I don't act on impulse. I act on evidence. I act on strategy. I took my phone out. I snapped a photo of the RSVP list. Then I recorded a 10-second voice memo, just catching the tail end of Carter saying, he likes being useful. Let him be useful from the parking lot. I picked up the check. I folded it neatly, and I put it back in my pocket. I walked out of the study, silent as a ghost. I went to the front door, opened it and slammed it shut. Hard. Mom? Carter. I called out, putting on my best oblivious brother voice. The voices in the sunroom stopped instantly. A second later, Carter popped his head out. He was grinning, that $1,000,000 smile. Mason, my man, he said, walking over to clap me on the shoulder. Just in time. Mom was getting worried about the caterer. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the Italian loafers I bought him for Christmas. The watch I gave him when he graduated or when he told us he graduated. Yeah, I said. My voice was steady, terrifyingly steady. I actually forgot the checkbook at my apartment. Left it on the counter. Carter's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Bro, come on. The deadline is 5 p.m. You have to go back and get it. I will, I lied. I'm heading back now. Just wanted to stop by and say hi. Mom walked into the hallway. She looked nervous. She was smoothing down her blouse, avoiding eye contact. You're not staying for coffee, Mason? Can't, I said. Got to go be useful. Carter didn't catch the reference. He just checked his watch. Okay, well, hurry up. Emily is freaking out about the deposit. Don't worry about Emily, I said. I'll take care of everything. I walked out to my car, my beat-up 6-year-old Honda. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the steering wheel. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't crying. I felt a cold, hard clarity settling over me. They wanted me to be the help? Fine. I'd help them. I'd help them realize exactly what happens when the wallet closes. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. Julian, I said when my lawyer picked up. I need you to pull the files on the car title. And the tuition records. Everything. Mason. Julian sounded surprised. Is everything okay? No, I said, watching my brother wave at me from the front porch, impatient for his money. Everything is about to be very different. I'm canceling the sponsorship. Driving away from that house felt like driving away from a crime scene where I was the victim, but the body hadn't been found yet. I went straight to my apartment. It's a modest place. 1 bedroom, clean, functional. Not like the sprawling condo Carter rents downtown. The one I co-signed for because he didn't have credit history yet. I sat down at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. It was time to audit my own life. You have to understand, this wasn't just about one wedding. This was about a pattern. A pattern that started 4 years ago when Dad hurt his back and had to take early retirement. The pension wasn't enough. Mom refused to downsize the house. "It would kill your father," she had said, weeping at this very table. "We have an image in this community, Mason." So I stepped up. I was the oldest. It was my duty. I pulled up the spreadsheet labeled family support. Tuition for Carter, $120,000 over 4 years. He went to a private liberal arts college. He insisted on it. Said he needed the connections. I paid every semester on time. I remembered the day he told us he graduated. We didn't go to the ceremony. He said there was a ticketing mix-up, only 2 tickets, and he gave them to his girlfriend at the time. Mom and Dad were heartbroken, but I just sent him a check for $5,000 as a graduation gift. Now, looking at the screen, I wondered if there ever was a ceremony. I logged into the university's parent portal. I still had the password because, well, I was the one paying the bills. I navigated to the Academic Records tab. Status: withdrawn. Academic probation. Last active semester. Fall 2022. I stared at the screen. He hadn't graduated. He hadn't even attended classes for the last 2 years. I felt a wave of nausea. I had been sending tuition checks directly to the school for the first 2 years, but then Carter asked me to send the money to him because of registration complications, and he would pay the bursar directly. He had been pocketing the tuition money, roughly $60,000. I scrolled down my bank statements. Car payment, $850 per month. The Porsche. Carter said he needed a reliable car for his internships. Mom backed him up. "He can't show up to a finance firm in a bus, Mason. Appearance is everything." I looked at my own reflection in the black screen of the laptop. Appearance. I'm not a model. I know that. I have a broad face, a scar on my chin, and my hair started thinning when I was 28. I work 70 hours a week. I have dark circles under my eyes. I look like exactly what I am. A tired man who carries the weight of 3 other adults on his back. But too ugly for photos? Hired help? I opened the folder labeled Wedding. Venue deposit, $10,000. Paid. Florist, $5,000. Paid. Band, $4,000. Paid. Emily's dress, $6,000. Paid. The total investment so far was nearly $45,000. And there was another $30,000 due in 2 days for the final catering and venue fee. I remembered the dinner when Carter announced the engagement. He had brought Emily home. She was sweet, quiet, a teacher. She came from money. Her father owns a chain of dealerships in the state, but she seemed humble. Carter had held court at the dinner table, telling stories about his investments and his consulting business. I sat there, eating my pot roast, nodding along. I knew his business was just a website I paid the hosting fees for. I knew his investments were day trading with allowance money I gave him. But I didn't say anything. Why? Because I wanted him to succeed. I wanted to believe the lie. I thought if I supported him long enough, eventually, the lie would become truth. "Mason," Mom had said that night, clinking her wine glass, "we are so proud of Carter, aren't we? Bringing such a lovely girl into the family." "Yes," I had said, "very proud. We need to make sure this wedding is perfect," Dad had added, looking directly at me, not at Carter, at me. "We don't want the Thompsons to think we can't keep up." Keep up. That was the family motto. Keep up appearances. Keep up with the neighbors. Keep up the charade. I closed the laptop. The anger was gone, replaced by a cold, mechanical resolve. In my line of work, when we find fraud, we don't get emotional. We freeze the assets. We cut the supply lines. We document everything. I picked up my phone and called the credit card company first. "This is Mason Reynolds. I need to report a lost card. No, actually, I need to report that all authorized users on my Platinum account need to be removed immediately. Yes, Linda Reynolds and Carter Reynolds. Effective immediately." "Certainly, sir. We can process that. The cards will be declined starting now." "Good," I said. and mark the account for potential fraudulent activity. I want a notification for every attempted charge. Next, I called the bank. I need to stop payment on a check. Number 402. Yes. And I need to transfer the balance of my joint savings account, the one ending in 8890, to my personal checking. All of it. Yes. Leave the minimum balance to keep it open. $5. That was Mom's emergency fund, the one I filled every month with $2,000. Finally, I called Julian back. Did you get the files? I asked. I'm looking at them now, Mason, Julian said. His voice was serious. The car is fully in your name. You're the primary title holder. Carter is just an authorized driver on the insurance. Legally, that's your car. If you want it back, you can take it back. And the tuition? I verified with the university registrar. He dropped out 3 semesters ago. Mason, where did the money go? Liquor, clothes, and trips to Cabo, I'm guessing, I said, rubbing my temples. Julian, I need you to draft a letter, but don't send it yet. I want to have it ready. What kind of letter? A demand for repayment, and a notice of eviction for the condo. Mason, Julian paused. This is nuclear. You're going to blow up the wedding. I'm not blowing up anything, I said, looking at the photo of the RSVP list on my phone. VIP sponsors. I'm just resigning from my position as the hired help. And the help doesn't pay for the champagne. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Did you find the checkbook? The venue just called again. They need the payment by Thursday or they won't open the doors. I stared at the message. I could see her typing bubbles appear and disappear. Mason, please hurry. Carter is so stressed. I typed back. Found it. Dropping it in the mail today. Should get there by Thursday. I lied. There was no check. There was no mail. I wanted them to wait. I wanted them to sweat. I wanted them to stand in that lobby until the very last second, thinking the safety net was there, only to realize I had cut the ropes. Julian, I said into the phone, do not say a word to anyone. Let them think everything is normal. You're playing a dangerous game, Mason, Julian warned. No, I said. For the first time in my life, I'm not playing their game at all. The next 24 hours were a masterclass in deception. Not theirs, mine. I went to work on Wednesday. I sat in my office, reviewed audits for a construction firm, and drank my black coffee. But every time my phone buzzed, I felt a jolt of dark anticipation. At 10 a.m., I got the first notification from the credit card company. Declined. The tuxedo shop. Amount, $450. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Carter. I let it go to voicemail. At 10:15 a.m., a text from Carter. Bro, your card isn't working. Must be a chip error. I had to use my debit. Can you call the bank? I need to pick up the groomsmen gifts later. I didn't reply. At 11:30 a.m., another notification. Declined. Antoine's florist. Amount, $2,200. Now Mom called, 3 times in a row. I answered the 3rd time, keeping my voice calm, typing loudly on my keyboard so she would hear I was working. Hey Mom, sorry. I'm in the middle of a massive audit. What's up? Mason. Her voice was shrill. The card. The florist just called. They said the payment was declined. We're picking up the arrangements tomorrow morning for the rehearsal dinner. You need to fix this. Oh, weird, I said, sounding distracted. The bank probably flagged it for unusual activity because of all the wedding spending. I'll call them on my lunch break. Don't worry. Do it now, Mason. This is embarrassing. The florist knows the Thompsons. I can't do it now, Mom. I have a client in the office. I'll handle it. Did the check for the venue arrive? Not yet, she snapped. But the mail hasn't come. It'll be there, I said. Just relax. I hung up. I didn't call the bank. I went to the break room and bought a bagel. That afternoon, I decided I needed to be absolutely sure. There was a tiny part of me, the weak part, the brother part, that whispered, maybe you misunderstood. Maybe the RSVP list was just an error. Maybe Carter was joking. I needed to hear it from the source. I needed to look Emily in the eye. I drove to the boutique hotel where Emily and Carter were staying before the wedding. It was a swanky place downtown, $600 a night. My credit card, of course. I walked into the lobby. I wasn't dressed in a suit. I wore my old gym hoodie and jeans. I looked exactly how they saw me, unpolished. I spotted them at the lobby bar. Carter, Emily, and Emily's parents, the Thompsons. They were having afternoon tea. I stayed behind a large potted palm, near the concierge desk. I wasn't close enough to hear everything, but I could see them. Carter was animating a story, using his hands, laughing. Mr. Thompson looked impressed. I walked up to the concierge. "Excuse me," I said to the young woman at the desk. "I'm supposed to drop off a package for the groom, Carter Reynolds. Is he around?" She looked up, smiled politely, then glanced at the bar. "Oh yes, that's Mr. Reynolds over there with his fiancée." "Great," I said. "I don't want to interrupt them. They look busy." "They are." She lowered her voice conspiratorially. "Big wedding this weekend. He's quite the charmer, isn't he?" He was telling the staff earlier about his internet empire. "Empire?" I repeated flatly. "Did he mention his brother?" She frowned, thinking. "I don't think so. He mentioned his parents are VIP financiers. And he mentioned, oh, he said his assistant would be dropping off the gift bags later." "Is that you? Assistant?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile that felt like cracked glass. "That's me, the assistant." I turned to leave, but as I did, Carter stood up and headed toward the restrooms, passing right by where I was standing. He froze when he saw me. "Mason?" he hissed, looking around nervously to see if the Thompsons were watching. "What the hell are you doing here? You look like a hobo." "Nice to see you too, Carter," I said. "Just checking in." "Mom said the florist payment bounced." "Yeah, fix that," he snapped, adjusting his silk tie. "And why are you here? If Emily's dad sees you..." "Look, just go. I don't want you ruining the vibe." "The vibe," I said. "Right? Hey Carter, I was wondering, where am I sitting at the reception? I never got an invite." He rolled his eyes. "Jesus, are you still on that? I told you, you're managing the vendors. You'll grab a plate in the back. We can't have you at the head table, Mason. Look at you." He gestured to my hoodie. "You don't fit the narrative." "The narrative being that you're a self-made millionaire?" He stepped closer, his face hardening. The charming boy was gone. "The narrative is whatever I say it is. And you? You're the guy who pays the bills because that's all you're good for. You have zero social capital, Mason. You're boring. You're ugly. You're single. So do your job, pay the damn florist, and stay out of the photos. Nobody wants to see your scar in a wedding album." He poked me in the chest. "Go home. Transfer the money. And don't show your face until we need you to load the gifts into the car on Sunday." He turned and walked back to the bar, slipping his mask of charm back on before he even sat down. I watched him kiss Emily on the cheek. I watched her smile at him, completely unaware that she was marrying a fraud. I walked out of that hotel, and any lingering doubt I had was gone, burned to ash. I sat in my car and took out my phone. I opened the banking app. Transfer complete. My joint account with Mom was now empty. I looked at the venue contact info. The Grand Oak Estate. I wasn't going to call them. Not yet. I was going to let physics take over. An object in motion stays in motion until it hits a wall. Carter was the object. Thursday was the wall. I went home and started printing. I printed the tuition records. I printed the withdrawal notice from the college. I printed the car title. I printed the bank statements showing the transfers to Carter's account. I put them all in a nice, crisp manila folder. Then I took a shower. I scrubbed myself raw. I shaved. I looked at the scar on my chin in the mirror. "Ugly?" I whispered. "No, not ugly. Expensive. That scar cost me a broken jaw and 6 stitches to save him." I looked at my reflection. "You're not the help, Mason. You're the CEO of this disaster." Thursday morning arrived. 2 days before the wedding. The deadline. My phone started ringing at 9 a.m. sharp. Mom, Mom, Carter, Mom, Dad. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb. I made myself a cup of coffee. I sat on my balcony and watched the city wake up. At 11 a.m., the voicemail notification popped up. It was the venue manager. Hello? This is Sarah from Grand Oak. We haven't received the final payment of $32,000. We tried the card on file and it was declined. We need payment by 2 p.m. today, or we cannot allow the vendors to set up for Saturday. Please call us immediately. The clock was ticking. 12 p.m. 1 p.m. At 1:30 p.m., I finally picked up the phone. But I didn't call the venue. I called Mom. Mason. She was screaming. Actually screaming. Where are you? The check never came. The venue is threatening to cancel. Carter is hyperventilating. You have to wire the money now. I'm at work, Mom, I said calmly. I can't wire that much without being there in person. Then go. Go to the bank. I can't, I said. I have a meeting. Screw your meeting, Dad roared in the background. This is your brother's wedding. Okay, I said. Look, tell the venue I'm coming. I'll meet you there. I'll bring a cashier's check. Tell them to wait. How long? I'll be there by 4 p.m., I said. They close at 5 o'clock. Hurry. I hung up. I wasn't going to the bank. I grabbed the manila folder. I grabbed my keys. I was going to the wedding venue. But I wasn't bringing a check. I was bringing the truth. The drive to the Grand Oak estate took 45 minutes. It gave me plenty of time to think. I thought about the Christmas when I was 22. I had just started my first job. I used my entire bonus to buy Mom a diamond necklace. She wore it for a week, then told me she lost it. A month later, I saw a new gaming system in Carter's room. He was 16. He told me Mom bought it for him. I put 2 and 2 together years later. She pawned the necklace to buy him the toy. I thought about the time Dad needed surgery. I paid the deductible, $5,000. Carter didn't even visit him in the hospital because he had fraternity rush week. Dad defended him. He's building his network, Mason. Let him be. I gripped the steering wheel. The leather was worn under my hands. The silence on my phone was heavy now. They thought I was en route. They thought the wallet was coming to save the day. They were probably relieved. Probably joking about how I always cut it close but always deliver. I pulled up to the estate. It was magnificent. Rolling lawns, white pillars, a fountain that probably cost more than my car. I saw the cars in the lot. Mom's Lexus, Dad's SUV. And there, parked right in front in a reserved spot, was the Porsche. My Porsche. I parked my Honda next to it. The contrast was poetic. The rusted gray sedan next to the gleaming red sports car. I walked up the steps. I could hear voices inside the main foyer. It's fine, Mr. Thompson. I heard Carter's voice. He sounded strained but was trying to keep it light. Just a banking glitch. My brother is bringing the certified funds now. He's my financial manager, essentially. Well, it's cutting it close, son. A deep voice rumbled. That must be Emily's dad. This place doesn't mess around. I pushed open the heavy oak doors. The lobby was stunning. Crystal chandeliers. Marble floors. Standing by the reception desk was the whole cast. Mom, Dad, Carter, Emily, and her parents. And a stern-looking woman in a blazer, Sarah, the manager. The air in the room was so thick you could choke on it. When the door clicked shut behind me, everyone turned. Mason! Mom exclaimed, rushing forward. Her eyes were wide, panicked. Thank God. Do you have it? Give it to Sarah. Carter let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for hours. He smirked at Emily's dad. See? Told you. Reliable as a clock. He walked toward me, hand extended. Cut it a little close. Bro, hand it over. I stood there. I didn't reach into my pocket. I held the manila folder at my side. I looked at Emily. She looked beautiful even in her casual clothes. She looked worried. Hi, Mason, she said softly. I'm so sorry to drag you out of work. It's okay, Emily, I said. I looked at Carter. I looked at my parents. Mason, Dad barked. The check. Now. There is no check, I said. The silence that followed was instant and absolute. It was deafening. What? Carter laughed nervously. Good joke. Give me the check. I stopped payment on the check 2 days ago, I said, my voice echoing in the marble hall. I canceled the credit cards yesterday, and I emptied the joint account this morning. Mom stopped breathing. Her hand went to her throat. Mason, what are you saying? She whispered. Why? Why? I repeated. I walked past them, toward the center of the room. Maybe because I found the RSVP list in the trash. Carter's face went pale, ghostly white. Maybe because I saw that I'm not family, I'm a VIP sponsor. Maybe because I heard you tell your fiancé that I'm the hired help. I turned to Emily. She looked confused, glancing between me and Carter. Carter? She asked. What is he talking about? He's joking, Carter stammered. He's having a breakdown. He's been working too hard. Mason, give us the money and we'll talk about this later. I'm not the help, Emily, I said to her, ignoring him. I'm his brother. I know you're his brother, Emily said, frowning. But Carter said you prefer to stay in the background because of your condition. My condition? I looked at Carter. Is being ugly a condition now? Mason, stop, Mom shrieked. Not in front of the Thompsons. Especially in front of the Thompsons, I said. I opened the manila folder. Mr. Thompson, I said, turning to the older man. You're a businessman. You appreciate due diligence, right? I do, he said, his eyes narrowing. Then you should see the audit of Carter Reynolds. I handed him the folder. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. Carter lunged for the folder, desperate. No, don't look at that. But Dad, surprisingly, grabbed Carter's arm. Not to stop him, but because Dad was paralyzed with shock. Or maybe shame. It gave Mr. Thompson enough time to open the folder. What is this? Mr. Thompson asked, adjusting his glasses. That, I pointed, is the tuition record for the last 4 years. I paid $120,000 for Carter's degree. So? Carter spat, struggling against Dad's grip. Lots of parents pay tuition. Look at the second page, I said. Mr. Thompson flipped the page. He read it. Then he looked up at Carter, his expression shifting from confusion to disgust. Academic probation? Withdrawal? Mr. Thompson read aloud. Carter, you told me you graduated magna cum laude. I did. That's a mistake. Mason forged that. Carter yelled. He was sweating now, beads of perspiration rolling down his forehead. And the car, I continued. The Porsche outside? Is not his. It's mine. I pay the lease. I pay the insurance. Carter is just an authorized driver. Emily stepped back. She looked at the engagement ring on her finger. And the ring? She whispered. Her voice trembled. Carter told me he saved for 2 years for this. Chase Sapphire Reserve, I said. Statement ending in 4098. November 2024. $12,500. I paid it off last month. Oh my God. Emily covered her mouth. Mason, please. Mom was crying now, grabbing my arm. Stop this. You're ruining everything. We can fix this. Just pay the venue, and we'll discuss it at home. I looked down at my mother, the woman who raised me, the woman who watched me sacrifice my 20s so her golden child could play pretend. Discuss it, I asked, like you discussed my seat at the reception, back with the vendors? Hired help? We didn't mean it, she sobbed. It was just for the image. The image is over, Mom, I said. I pulled my arm away. I turned to Sarah, the venue manager, who was watching this unfold with wide eyes. Sarah, I said, I am the owner of the credit card ending in 5544. I do not authorize any further charges. If you run that card, I will report it as fraud. Do you understand? Yes, sir, she said quickly. Absolutely. And since the deposit was paid with my card, I added, I'd check your contract regarding refunds for cancellations due to non-payment. Mason, Carter roared. He broke free from Dad and charged at me. He grabbed my collar. You jealous prick. You're doing this because you're a loser. You're lonely and ugly and you can't stand that I'm happy. I didn't flinch. I stood my ground. I'm 4 inches taller than him and, despite the desk job, I carry the weight of this family. I'm strong. I'm not jealous, Carter, I said calmly, looking into his wild eyes. I'm just broke. The wallet is empty. The sponsorship is canceled. I shoved him off me. He stumbled back, crashing into a display of flower vases. They shattered. Emily, Mr. Thompson said, his voice like granite. Get in the car. Dad. Emily looked at him, tears streaming down her face. Get in the car, he repeated. He looked at Carter with pure loathing. We are leaving. There will be no wedding. No. Wait. Carter scrambled up. Mr. Thompson, please. He's lying. It's all a setup. I can explain. You didn't graduate? Mr. Thompson asked. You don't own your car? You didn't buy the ring. Carter opened his mouth, but no words came out. The truth was on the paper in Mr. Thompson's hand. Mr. Thompson dropped the folder on the floor. You're a fraud, son, and a mooch. Stay away from my daughter. He took Emily's arm. She didn't resist. She looked at Carter one last time. Not with love, but with the heartbreaking realization that she was looking at a stranger. She took off the ring. She didn't throw it. She placed it gently on the reception desk. I think this belongs to you, Mason, she said softly. Then she walked out. Emily! Carter screamed, running after them. But the automatic doors closed in his face. He watched them get into their Mercedes and drive away. He turned back to me. His face was twisted in a rictus of hate. I will kill you, he whispered. You ruined my life. No, Carter, I said. I just stopped paying for it. I looked at my parents. Dad was sitting on a velvet bench, head in his hands. Mom was staring at the shattered vase, muttering, The Thompsons? The neighbors? Oh God! I felt a vibration in my pocket. My phone. I took it out. It was a notification from the bank. Transfer complete. I looked at them one last time. This is the moment that changes everything, I said to the silent room. This is when I finally take back control of my life. I turned to the camera, well, to you guys listening. This is that moment. Thank you for being patient with me this far. You guys are amazing. Please smash that like button and comment number 1 below so I know you're riding with me. It helps more people find this story, and it tells me that my experience means something to you. Your support is the only thing keeping me going as I share the rest of this. I walked out of the Grand Oak estate. The sun was setting. The air was crisp. Carter was standing by the Porsche, kicking the tire, screaming profanities at the sky. I walked up to him. Give me the keys, I said. Go to hell, he spat. The title is in the folder, I said. It's my car. Julian has already filed the paperwork. If you don't give me the keys, I'm calling the cops and reporting it stolen. Right now. He froze. He looked at the hotel. He looked at his parents coming out the door. He looked at me. He reached into his pocket and threw the keys at my face. I caught them. You're dead to me, he said. I know, I replied. I wasn't on the list, remember? I got into the Porsche. It smelled like new leather and Carter's expensive cologne. I adjusted the seat. He had it reclined way too far back. I started the engine. The roar of the motor was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. I left my Honda in the parking lot. I come back for it later with Julian. Or maybe I'd donate it. I drove away, leaving my family standing on the curb of a wedding venue they couldn't pay for, watching their VIP sponsor drive off into the sunset. I didn't go home. I drove. I drove that Porsche for 3 hours, just feeling the power of it. I drove up the coast, watching the ocean blur by. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't have a knot in my stomach. I didn't have a mental calculator running in my head about how much checks I had to write next week. I checked into a motel, a nice one, about 2 hours away. I needed distance. When I turned my phone back on, it nearly exploded. 47 missed calls. 112 text messages. I scrolled through them. Mom, how could you? You are evil. Mom, you humiliated us. Mom. Emily's father is suing for emotional distress. He wasn't, I knew that. Mom was lying. Carter, I'm going to sue you for theft. Dad. Mason, call me. We need to figure out how to pay the cancellation fee. They want $15,000. I laughed. A genuine, belly laugh. They still wanted money. Even now. I texted Dad back. Ask your VIP sponsors. Then I blocked them. All of them. I called Julian. Mason. Julian sounded breathless. Jesus, man. What happened? Carter called my office threatening to burn it down. It's done, I said. The wedding is off. Emily left him. I took the Porsche. You took the Porsche? Julian started laughing. Oh my God. You legend. Julian, I need you to handle the eviction. The condo lease is in my name, right? Yeah, you're the guarantor. But Carter is the tenant. The lease expires next month, I said. Do not renew it. Send him a notice to vacate. And tell the landlord I'm not covering the rent for next month. If he stays, he pays. He can't pay, Julian said. He has no income. Exactly. The next few weeks were a blur of legal letters and silence. I went back to work on Monday. I wore a new suit. I drove the Porsche to the office. My boss, Mr. Henderson, saw me in the parking lot. He whistled. New wheels, Mason? Did you rob a bank? No, I smiled. I just stopped a robbery. I sold the Porsche 2 days later. I didn't want it. It was tainted. I took the money, about $65,000, and I put it into a high-yield investment account. I labeled it Mason's Freedom Fund. I bought a sensible SUV. Something for me. I heard through the grapevine, aka my Aunt Brenda, the only relative who still talked to me, what happened to the family. Carter had to move back in with Mom and Dad. Without the car and the allowance, his image crumbled. His business collapsed because I stopped paying the server fees. He was working at a local bar now, tending bar. Mom went into a deep depression. Not because she missed me, but because the neighbors knew. The Thompsons had talked. Everyone knew her son was a fraud and her other son had cut them off. She couldn't show her face at the bridge club. And Dad? Dad was the only one who tried to reach out. He sent a letter to my office. Mason, it read, we made mistakes, but you are still our son. We are family. You have a duty to forgive. Duty. I shredded the letter. Duty is a two-way street. They violated the contract. About a month later, I was at a coffee shop downtown. I was reading a book, something I hadn't had time to do in years. I saw someone walking toward my table. It was Emily. She looked different. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. She looked real. Mason? She asked. I stood up. Emily. Hi. Can I sit? Sure. She sat down, wrapping her hands around a warm mug. I wanted to thank you, she said. I was surprised. Thank me? I ruined your wedding day. You saved my life, she said, looking me in the eye. If I had married him, if I had found out 5 years later with 2 kids, I don't know what I would have done. I'm sorry it had to happen like that, I said. He lied about everything, she said. Not just the money, who he was, how he treated people. He told me you were slow, mentally challenged. That's why you handled the simple tasks. I clenched my jaw. Wow. Yeah, she smiled sadly. I see now that you were the only smart one in the room. We talked for an hour, not as in-laws but as 2 people who had survived the same hurricane. She told me she was moving to Chicago, starting fresh. Good for you, I said. And you? She asked. What are you going to do with all that extra money? I smiled. A real smile. I think I'm going to take a trip, I said. Somewhere where nobody cares about my image. She laughed. Send me a postcard. I will. She left. I watched her go. I sat there in the coffee shop, listening to the hum of conversation, the clinking of cups. I realized something. I didn't have a family anymore. I didn't have parents to please or a brother to support. I was alone. But for the first time in my life, alone didn't feel lonely. Felt free. 6 months turned into a year. And let me tell you, a year of silence is a loud thing. It rings in your ears at first, strange and uncomfortable. Like tinnitus. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. You keep waiting for the frantic text asking for bail money, or the guilt-trip voicemail about a medical emergency that turns out to be a Botox refill. But eventually, the ringing stops, and you just hear, life. I didn't just survive the fallout, I thrived in it. I took the Freedom Fund, that 65 grand from the Porsche sale plus the money I would have wasted on the wedding, and I reinvested it. But not in stocks. I reinvested it in Mason. I bought a cabin, not a mansion, a fixer-upper A-frame on a lake 3 hours north of the city. It needed a new roof, new plumbing, and a hell of a lot of sanding. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't fixing something for someone else to enjoy. I was fixing it for me. Every nail I hammered felt like I was sealing a coffin on my past. I remember one Saturday morning, standing on the deck with a mug of coffee. My mug, in my house, paid for with my money, watching the mist roll off the water. My phone buzzed inside on the kitchen counter. I ignored it. I went fishing instead. But the past has a way of trying to claw its way back in, especially when it runs out of cash. I returned to the city on a Tuesday for a quarterly review at the firm. I walked into my office, and my secretary, Sarah, looked uncomfortable. Mason, she said, lowering her voice, there's a man in the waiting room. He says he's your father. I told him you were busy, but he refused to leave. He's been there for 2 hours. I stopped. My hand tightened on my briefcase handle. It had been 14 months since the wedding that wasn't. Is he causing a scene? I asked. No, she said. He's just sitting there. He looks tired, Mason. I sighed. Send him in. When the door opened, I almost didn't recognize him. Robert Reynolds, the man who used to wear 3-piece suits to Sunday brunch, was wearing a windbreaker that had seen better days. His hair was gray, unkempt. He looked smaller. The bluster, the arrogance. It had evaporated, leaving behind a hollow shell. He sat down in the chair opposite my desk. He didn't look at me. He looked at the diploma on my wall. The one he never cared about because it wasn't from an Ivy League. Nice office, he said. His voice was raspy. What do you want, Robert? I didn't call him Dad. Couldn't. He flinched at the name. We're losing the house, Mason. I leaned back in my chair. I wasn't surprised. I knew the property taxes were due 3 months ago. I knew the mortgage on that place was an interest-only balloon payment nightmare that I had been restructuring for them for years. Without my financial management, the balloon had popped. I know, I said. I saw the public notice in the Gazette. Foreclosure auction is set for next month. He looked up, eyes wet. We have nowhere to go. Carter, he's not contributing. He can't hold down a job. He thinks manual labor is beneath him. Your mother is... She's not well, Mason. She just sits in the sunroom staring at the garden. That sounds difficult, I said. Neutral. Professional. Like I was talking to a client who had made bad investments. We need $40,000 to stop the auction, he said. The number hung in the air. Just a loan. We'll pay you back. Once Carter gets his settlement. I raised an eyebrow. Settlement? He's suing the university, Robert said, a spark of the old delusion returning, for failing to support his learning disability. That's why he failed. It wasn't his fault. I almost laughed. They were still doing it. Still enabling. Still rewriting reality to protect the golden child. There is no settlement, Robert, I said. And there is no loan. Mason, please. His voice cracked. It's your childhood home. No, I corrected him. It's the house where I lived in the basement while Carter got the master suite. It's the house where you threw a graduation party for a son who didn't graduate. It's a building, and it's a liability. We will be homeless, he whispered. You have Social Security, I said. You have a pension. It's small, but it's enough for a 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs. You won't starve. You just won't be VIPs anymore. He stood up, his face reddening. You are cold. You have ice in your veins. I learned from the best, I replied. You treated me like a bank transaction for 30 years. Don't be surprised when the transaction is declined. He stormed out, but it wasn't the storm of a powerful man. It was the shuffle of a defeated one. I thought that was the end of it. But the universe has a sense of irony. 2 weeks before the auction, Julian called me. You're not going to believe this, Julian said, his voice dancing with amusement. Guess who just applied for a job at my firm as a paralegal? Carter, I guessed. Carter, Julian confirmed. But here's the kicker. He used you as a reference. And on his resume, he lists estate manager for the Reynolds Family Trust as his last 5 years of employment. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my water. Estate manager? He couldn't manage a lemonade stand. He's desperate, Mason, Julian said. I did some digging. He's got gambling debts. Apparently, he tried to keep up the high-roller lifestyle after you cut him off. He borrowed from some loan sharks. He's not just broke, he's in danger. Don't hire him, Julian. Obviously not. But I thought you should know. The auction is next Friday. Are you going? I paused. Why would I go? Closure, Julian said. And, well, the property is undervalued. It's a prime lot. If you bought it, you could flip it. Make a profit on their misery. Call it the ultimate hired help move. I thought about it. Buying the house. Evicting them myself. It sounded like something out of a revenge movie. It sounded satisfying. I'll think about it, I said. Friday came. It was a rainy, gray day. The auction was held at the county courthouse steps. I stood in the back of the crowd, wearing a raincoat and a baseball cap. I saw them. Mom and Dad were huddled under a black umbrella, looking terrified. Carter was there, pacing, talking frantically on his phone, probably trying to hustle up a miracle. The auctioneer started the bidding. Opening bid, $300,000. Silence. $300,000. Do I hear $350? A developer in a beige trench coat raised his hand. $350. Mom sobbed. Dad put his arm around her. $375. Another bidder countered. I watched them. I watched the house where I learned to ride a bike, the house where I fixed the roof, the house where I found my name in the trash. I watched it slip away from them. I had the money. My credit was pristine. I could raise my hand right now. I could buy it. I could save them. Or I could buy it and kick them out. My hand stayed in my pocket. I realized something in that rain. Buying the house, even to flip it, even for revenge, was still engaging. It was still playing their game. It was still tethering myself to their chaos. The ultimate revenge wasn't destroying them. It was indifference. Sold, the auctioneer yelled. $420,000 to the gentleman in the beige coat. It was over. Mom collapsed against Dad. Carter kicked a trash can, ironic, and screamed at the sky. I turned around and walked away. They never saw me. I got into my SUV and drove back to my cabin. I stopped at a roadside stand and bought a bag of apples. I ate one on the drive. Tasted sweet. The fallout was predictable. They had 30 days to vacate. They moved into a cramped apartment complex on the other side of town. The VIP sponsor lifestyle was dead. I didn't block the grapevine entirely. I needed to know they were alive, at least. Carter's gambling debts caught up with him. He got beat up outside a bar. A broken nose and 2 fractured ribs. No Porsche to drive him to the hospital. He had to take an Uber. He ended up working at a car wash. I drove by once, months later, not to gloat, just to see. I saw him wiping down the rims of a Mercedes, sweating in the summer heat. He looked older. He looked humbled. Or maybe just broken. Mom and Dad became hermits. The shame was too much for Linda Reynolds. She couldn't handle being ordinary. She stopped dyeing her hair. She stopped hosting parties. One evening, about 8 months after the house was sold, I was at my cabin. I had finished the renovations. The place was beautiful. I heard a car pull up the gravel driveway. I looked out the window. It was a beat-up sedan. Carter's car. I didn't panic. I wasn't afraid of him anymore. I walked out onto the porch, my dog, a rescue golden retriever named Buster, standing guard beside me. Carter got out. He looked rough. His nose was crooked from the break. He was wearing stained jeans. He walked up to the steps but didn't come up. "Nice place," he said. He didn't sound sarcastic. He sounded tired. "It is," I agreed. "What do you want, Carter?" "I heard you were up here," he said. "Aunt Brenda told me." "And?" He kicked at the gravel. "Mom's sick. Actually sick this time. Pneumonia. The apartment has mold." I waited. "We need help, Mason," he said. He looked up at me, and for the first time in 27 years, I didn't see arrogance. I saw fear. "I can't cover the meds. Dad's pension is gone on rent. I'm making minimum wage." This was the test. The final exam of my new life. The old Mason would have written a check. The old Mason would have driven them to a hotel. The old Mason would have fixed it. I looked at my brother, the boy I protected, the man who called me ugly. "I can't give you money, Carter," I said. "Mason, please. It's Mom." "I can't give you money," I repeated, "because I know where it goes." "But," I pulled out my phone, "I will call the pharmacy near your place. I will pay for the prescription directly. I will call a mold remediation specialist to inspect your apartment. If it's uninhabitable, I will pay for a motel for 3 nights directly to the front desk. But you don't touch a dime. Dad doesn't touch a dime." Carter stared at me. "You still don't trust us." "Trust is earned," I said. "You spent 4 years spending my trust on vodka and sports cars. You're overdrawn." He looked down. He nodded slowly. Okay, Mason. Thank you." "And Carter," I called out as he turned to leave. He stopped. "Don't come back here. This is my sanctuary. If you need me for a genuine emergency, call Julian. He'll relay the message. But if you show up on my driveway again, I'll have you arrested for trespassing." He flinched. "We're brothers, Maze. We share DNA," I said. "That's biology. Brotherhood is showing up. You didn't show up for me until you needed something. Goodbye, Carter." He got in his car and drove away. I sat on the porch for a long time. I paid for the meds. I paid for the motel. Cost me $500. It was a small price to pay to verify that I was still a human being, but one with boundaries of steel. I wasn't their ATM anymore. I was their distant relative who helped out of charity, not obligation. I was the charity case now, and the irony tasted sweeter than the apples. Tonight, I'm sitting by the fireplace in the cabin. Buster is asleep at my feet, chasing rabbits in his dreams. The fire is crackling, casting long shadows against the cedar walls. I have the RSVP list. Not the original, that one I left in the folder with Mr. Thompson. But I kept the photo on my phone. I printed it out one last time. VIP sponsors, Robert and Linda. I look at it and I don't feel anger anymore. I don't feel that crushing weight in my chest. I feel indifferent. It's a strange thing. Realized you've been the villain in your own story by allowing yourself to be the victim. I enabled them. For 10 years, I taught them that my love was currency. I taught them that if they pushed the guilt button, the cash drawer would open. I stand up and toss the paper into the fire. I watch the edges curl. I watch the gold script turn black. I watch VIP sponsor dissolve into ash. It climbs up the chimney, smoke disappearing into the night sky. My phone buzzes. There's a text from Emily. She sends me a picture of her new apartment in Chicago. She looks happy. Found a place, she writes. No marble floors, but it's mine. Thanks again, Mason. I reply, looks perfect. Enjoy the freedom. I put the phone down. I think about the concept of family. We are told from birth that family is everything. Blood is thicker than water. But they never tell you the full quote. The original saying is, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The bonds you choose are stronger than the ones you inherit." I have chosen my family now. It's Julian, who stood by me legally and emotionally. It's Buster, who loves me whether I drive a Porsche or a Honda. It's Emily, a survivor who understands the scars. And most importantly, it's me. I had to learn to be my own father, my own mother, my own brother. I had to sponsor myself. I walk to the window and look out at the lake. The moon is reflecting off the water, a silver path leading to nowhere and everywhere. I am 35 years old. I have a scar on my chin that makes me look tough. I have a bank account that is mine. I have a future that is unwritten. I am not the hired help. I am not the ugly brother. I am not the wallet. I am Mason. And for the first time in my life, that is enough. You know, writing this story down has made me realize something profound, and I hope it sticks with you too. We often confuse boundaries with betrayal. We think saying no to family is an act of war, when really it's an act of survival. Financial abuse is real abuse. Just because they aren't hitting you doesn't mean they aren't hurting you. If your love is only accepted when it comes with a price tag, that's not love. It's a subscription service. And you have every right to cancel it. You don't owe anyone your mental health, your financial stability, or your dignity, no matter whose DNA you share. I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever felt like the VIP sponsor in your own relationships? Have you ever had to cut off someone you loved to save yourself? Drop a good in the comments if you think I made the right call, or share your own freedom moment down below. Let's build a community here where we remind each other that we are worth more than what we can provide. Thanks for listening. Stay strong and keep your receipts.